a galactic purr of KKs.
Invites you to Space Cat's Happy Hour.
Let your mind relax. We meet in a dimension outside of time,
Where the playfully curious thrive.
So go on, fill your tin cup chalice with the sacred elixir of creativity. Laugh till you breathe violet flame at the theme's absurdity.
and above all, let out your full-throated song with us.
Here at Space Cat's Happy Hour. With the galactic purr of KKs.
Welcome to Space Cat's Happy Hour. It's our first episode in a very long time because the last one was really.
September.
And you can watch these videos on Spotify, or you can listen to the podcast on whatever podcast thing you have, Apple or whatever one, Spotify. I can't remember. I can't remember my spiel. As always, we do have an email. I can't remember what it is, but it goes in the show notes. So if you want to email us and go click high ratings if you're watching or listening so that we can reach more people. Okay, I think I can't remember the spiel and I don't give a fuck, honestly. This is a very spontaneous episode. And you might notice that my appearance is a little different than the last time I recorded. Say that over the past year, I've undergone one of the greatest shapeshift of my adult life, and that includes a period where I was on testosterone. And in addition to that body shapeshift, I recently fell and hit my face. By recently, I mean yesterday. And so I'm in full, I kind of look like Freddy Krueger. I kind of look like I've had a chemical peel. I kind of look like a zombie, and because I had to get 2 stitches on my chin, it's like making my chin pointy, and it kind of makes me look like the devil. So enjoy that if you are watching it. And
The devil.
you want to know how I fell? I don't think there's many less risky activities that would lead to this kind of injury that I can think of that are a morning routine that consists of somatic breath work and qigong moves. But it was the breath work that got me. For some reason, even though I've been doing it every day for 2 weeks, this time there's a part where I had to hold my breath, and next thing I know, a very, very nice man was asking me if I was okay, and he was so kind, and he stayed with me and called an ambulance. And it was just really, really kind and grounding, and so thank you to him. So this just to explain why my face like this. Why me look like this?
It's been intense.
The thing is, it has for me. The past 2 weeks have been very smooth and chill, and that was the energy that I was bringing to them as well. But even this experience, as far as it goes, wasn't that intense. But anyway,
It was a really nice way of going through something pretty. You had a lot of good energy and a lot of good people around you. So
oh my god, KK,
Oh,
yeah. Sun Portal Zadikat, this is my co-host, dreadpiratekk, and they were kind enough to be available when it happened, and they just stayed with me because I had a whole weird thing where, it was so friggin' weird. It was like I was having memories of parallel timelines, but they were coming to me sometimes as memories of dreams of parallel timelines, but I hadn't actually had the dreams, and they were coming to me in real time. Like, it would feel as though I had drifted off and started thinking about something, and suddenly all this other timeline came in, but I actually hadn't done that at all. I'd just been like talking to somebody or like not drifting off, but suddenly it was like all this other whole parallel memory thing was there. Very psychedelic.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy energy you were in. So it was nice to talk to you while you were in the hospital. It was like just texting. It would be nice to be with you, but
parallel memories, parallel realities. Don't know.
yeah.
Out of it. And you were like very nice and grounding.
Yeah. We'll anchor you into this timeline and then we can explore the other ones
Upbeat.
later. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really, really appreciated that. And
Anytime, baby. Anytime.
it just felt like the time to record. And also, okay, I promise I will let you speak in a second.
You're good. You're good.
On and on. But one of the reasons I wanted to record right away was because my instinctual reaction was that I didn't want to be seen like this. And I wanted to like hide out until I look in a way that I wanted to be seen again, which is also how I've been feeling around this very drastic weight loss that I underwent. That is now I'm finally gaining the weight back. And then I was like, fuck that. Like, that's some old school whatever. And I don't do things that way anymore. So why not just podcast while my face is just like this?
So proud of you. That is some soul growth right there. Because not everybody, and an older version of me definitely could not have done that. So I'm really extra impressed. It's good. We're trying to be more visible and also not give a fuck what other people think and I put myself in other, like if I see somebody or if I feel like super self-conscious about myself, I'm like, what would happen? What would I be thinking if I saw someone else, dressed like me or with this injury or, like whatever. I'm like, I wouldn't fucking judge. I would just send them a lot of love or, it's none of my business. So I'm like, okay, that's how I'm going to choose to perceive that's how other people perceive me. And then it helps me kind of embody the confidence to be like, I don't give a fuck. Colander on the head energy. Also, I clearly don't give a fuck because I'm wearing we're showing up as we are. And I just came from working on a tractor and I sound like that. I'm really cool. I'm not really cool. I'm like holding things in place, but it was like going to be a really greasy day because we're doing the brakes on it and we have to take apart all the axles and shit. I don't know what these terms are. I'm throwing things out like I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, a lot of grease everywhere, but I didn't really get that much on me. But either way, I'm wearing this shirt. But it's pretty cool because it's an Audubon shirt and it says, "For fuck's sake," in Latin. So talk about fucking... It's an account it used to be on Twitter. I don't know. He probably abandoned it, but it was called Effin' Birds on Twitter. Aaron Reynolds. Man is hilarious. So merch.
That's awesome. You have to please talk a little bit about this tractor and about the characters on your farm.
Oh my gosh, there's been so many changes since we last recorded.
But just start with the tractor.
We'll start with the tractor. So my grandfather bought a tractor back in like 1997 or whatever, and it's basically been at the pirate ship in the barn, and the pirate ship, like, it'll grate the driveway or plow the snow or whatever, but it hasn't really been used much. Anyway, it's a 1939. It's kind of a hybrid because like the serial number makes it 1940, but most of the parts have serial numbers from 1939, so it's like an interesting mixture. So 1939 was the first year Ford built this tractor. And anyway, it's a 9N. If anybody knows farming equipment, I'm learning all these things. I don't know, whatever. 9N. And it's just, her name is Froggy because like her little headlamps make her look like a frog from the front. And she's gray. She's so beautiful. And like she has red parts on her and stuff. Anyway, I thought I was going to have to sell this tractor because, all of us need money and we're trying to get rid of stuff. I'm not going to I've never been a tractor person. I don't know. But I've always looked at her in the barn and just been like, man, that is a cool tractor. I wish I was a tractor person so that I could like, hang out with her or whatever, but never think it was possible. Then my fucking neighbor and friend Lee is like, what if I fixed her up for you? And you could actually, and I was like, what? You can do that? So anyway, we're working on this tractor named Froggy from 1939, and she is the coolest presence. I have discovered now that I live at the Midnite Diner, which I know we have not recorded since I've lived here, so nobody knows that I live at the Midnite Diner. We'll get into that later. But anyway, she clearly belongs at the Midnite Diner, and I have a whole cast of characters out here, including a street lamp that I call the Guardian, this electric angel that I made an accidental movie about when I was filming for a promo for my stream. So I've just got a whole lot of cool, quote unquote, inanimate. I mean, I know they're inanimate objects or whatever, but like they have consciousness and they have personality, and I love talking about them. So yes, this is my tractor, and we are working on fixing her up, and it's been quite a project.
Froggy looks like she's like cherry red. She has these huge, big headlamp eyes.
Mhm.
She looks like she's out of like Roger Rabbit or like Bedknobs and Broomstick, like some very old, fun, cartoony movie. Like
Yeah.
she's just like such. She's wild, man. Like
She really has a personality.
she really, really does. Such an energy. So cool.
And I'm filming all of the work because I want to do a little, some sort of film compilation to kind of introduce her as a cast of characters out here, just like I did for The Guardian. So I'll have that footage put together as soon as we're done working on it, but got some time to go. It'll be a long-term project, which is fine.
Just describe the Midnight Diner a little bit.
Oh my gosh, the Midnight Diner. So I was living in the pirate ship, which was my mom's farm. And then it quickly became apparent that I needed to upgrade houses with windows attached to the walls and heating that actually worked. And anyway, so I moved to my grandparents' farmhouse, and it had been sitting empty for 3 years because my grandmother was the last to go and she died in whatever, 2021 or something. Anyway, so I'm living in my grandparents' house, and the first week or so that I moved, it was like a traumatic move in. I moved in November. Like that whole time period was just like the start of that Mars retrograde bullshit, like whatever. So it's lots to talk about. But I was in meditation one night when I first moved in about a week or so, and I was sitting in the room that's over the furnace, and the furnace is like oil based, so like the oil comes into the and it goes whoosh, the fire, and then like the water goes through the radiators, and it's just like it was such a peaceful sound and feeling. And then all of a sudden, because you're in this meditation in this quiet space, you can hear people or hear beings talk, and the house introduced itself to me. And the pirate ship was a feminine presence, and like I just assumed all houses were female present. That I don't know, but the Midnight Diner is a masculine presence. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he's kind of like the like metal, like a metal automaton kind of feeling energy, and my own masculine energy has shown up as like, you know, kind of like a robot type, but blue circuitry and kind of cool neon guy. Anyway, so it's definitely a really beautiful old-timey masculine energy. And I've been thinking about neon a lot, probably because my masculine energy showed up as that. And like, I just love neon, and I've just noticed it more and all this stuff. And then it just kind of fell into my head. It was like, oh, this is the Midnight Diner. And it's you know, it's got the old timey diner neon font vibes that I've been able to make and for my promos and stuff. Anyway, so I've been kind of putting this together slowly over the period of time that I've lived here, where I know I'm building a school and I'm building apparently a farm. I grew up doing farm chores, but like I've never considered myself a farmer. As soon as I could get away from my hometown, I left and always lived in cities, and I just considered myself a city person. And here I am in this farm, like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I've started this garden with like a no-till organic fucking garden, and my neighbor again is helping me with all this stuff. I feel out of my depth and like an imposter a lot of times, but also I can feel how natural it is because I really love being out in and working in the garden and like doing. We haven't gotten to the crop part yet. Like this is a whole ongoing. So basically what I've kind of discovered over the past like months of living here is that I have a galactic school, like, you know, galactic history and earth history and, you know, all kinds of shit that we talk about kind of like on this podcast. And that's the Midnight Diner Mystery School. And that's my stream on Twitch. And then I also have this earth school, which is the farm and the garden and like, you know, teaching people. I feel like I'm also maybe supposed to build a monastery out here. So like there's a whole lot of things that are like earthy based. And so I'm getting in touch with my Lemurian and earthy self, but it's not my most natural space. My natural space is like out in the fucking clouds and in the future and, you know, all kinds of galactic stuff. But it's really nice to be able to get in touch with that part of me and then have extra support with my neighbor and slash partner. He's going to be, you know, he's basically going to be the right-hand man, like the farm manager or whatever. So as we start to put these projects together and like get this place into a position of, I don't know, returning to natural habitat and like all kinds of whatever regenerative farming I'm doing. I did not see this coming for myself in any of my visions of my future. I did not see myself as a farmer or a teacher. So it's just a really it's been a really interesting and fascinating journey. And so here I am starting my school at the Midnight Diner, which is both the place I live, my school, and my other school.
So cool. And yeah, so dreadpiratekk has started a regular
Oh yeah.
Twitch series, live streams on Twitch. And if you're someone like me who is not a Twitch user, it's very easy to just go unsubscribe and then just find them and just watch the things. Like, it couldn't be simpler.
Yeah. And I do post the streams to YouTube once I quickly edit for like long pauses or what I lightly edit and then I post it on dreadpiratekk YouTube.
Yeah, but so check those out because they're really
Thanks, man.
yeah, and definitely check out the YouTubes. There's a beautiful one that I just think is just such a beautiful short film that you made of a day on the farm.
Oh yeah. That was a fun project.
Cats make appearances in them. They make cameos. It's very, very, very cute. It's so wonderful and magical. You're living in a real magical place.
Yeah, it's been a real adjustment, but the magic is undeniable. Faux show. You've been writing and Mara and all the cool stuff that's been going on,
Over the
creativity.
past few months, I've been doing a lot of writing, and I finished the sequel to my first kids book. So that's Mara and the Bad Wolf, the gender magical fairy tale. So Mara's a little fox who's turning 11 in that one. And in the sequel, Mara is about to turn 13. So in the first book, Mara and an older rebellious teenage wolf named Seth, they go to this very mysterious topsy-turvy island, and then Mara ends up discovering all these kind of interesting things about their emotions and themselves and their gender. And then in the sequel that I just finished, Mara joins a gender magical punk band, and it's called Mara and the Gingerbread House because the punk band is located in it's two older teens, and one of them is called Betty Badger, and it's in where Betty Badger's home, where she lives with her grandmother, and it's a gingerbread house, and her grandmother's a witch. So
Hell yeah.
reality bending stuff in that one too, and I just finished the draft of it, so I'm pretty happy.
Yes.
And I've been taking art. I've just been like doing so much art since the spring, and just loving art and reconnecting with art, like hands-on art. I had been doing digital art for the past 5 years, which was really fun, but I hadn't done anything like pencils or anything. So I started drawing in my sketchbook again with colored pencils. And then I took a printmaking class. I had done printmaking like decades ago when I was in school, and I just loved it so much. So I took this one-off class, and it was great. And now I'm taking a pottery class. I might take another printmaking class, and I'm just like, I'm loving all of it. Oh, I mean, I have been doing the collages. That's true. That's very
Yeah. And you're doing the oracle for the
yeah.
zine.
So the collage oracle cards that I make, I don't know if I've ever talked or shown those on the podcast. I know I've done ones where I pick up a book and I flip through and we do the reading that way, but normally I cut out the images from the book and I collage them with text and stuff. And they're very inner child. It's like most of my sources are children's books, so they're very inner child geared. And there's an online digital magazine called Fruit Slice where they release issues quarterly, and I'm going to be a regular feature. So I just did the reading for the fall, the issue that's going to be released in September. Really excited about that, and it's free. It's accessible online. So if anybody wants to go see that, you can find it when it comes out in September. I don't know when.
I can put a link in the show notes if you
Fruit Slice. So I'm very excited about that as well. It's just fun to have a platform to share those, because I love doing them, and I do them for individuals as well, personalized.
Your oracles are so incredible. Oh my God. I think I'm about due to need to commission you for a second round. I'm like,
I really I just miss doing things like that too. So I'm very happy to get back into that. Yeah, I've just been loving the art. It's like, it's funny because this is an interesting topic. Oh, I think. Yeah, I'll just say it is, decide for,
Yeah.
I'll decide what's interesting. But I think it's interesting that sometimes when we talk about like our inner child, so when I was a kid, I loved being creative and I loved art, but I would get really blocked. And I also would get really frustrated around the learning progress and things where it was like, you have to practice to get better. And I would often sit down to do some art and then just kind of get distracted or blocked, or like it wouldn't come together. Like I would just have like a grand feeling of art. And then I would end up like not creating anything and just feeling kind of defeated and frustrated. So if you'd asked me, and then in my late teens, when I was in a depression and I was taking art classes, I went through a period with like a lot of art output. But if you'd asked me if like my like if you're thinking of your child, like, oh, what did you like to do as a child? Like, I don't know if like that kind of making art would have come to mind immediately. It's just interesting because I think there are things that we don't even know that our inner child.
Literally my life right now. I was like, if you had asked me what I was gonna, if you'd asked me what my inner child wanted to do, it would not have been this.
I think sometimes we get a bit boxed in thinking about what we actually did a lot as a kid that we can remember like enjoying, but the inner child is also the part of us that likes to explore and learn, like have new things come into your life. It's not just about like reliving things from your actual childhood. It's like the joy of being like the actual joy of being a child and experiencing something for the first time. Like I just remember going to this crazy summer camp the year we lived in England. It was just like a week-long day camp thing. I think I might have even only gone for one day, but they had this gymnasium with like these huge trampolines and this like huge pit with crash mats that you could just, it was just like something, it was just like so mind-blowing to me. And I went on this like giant trampoline and it was just like, you know, like it's this sensory experience that you're having for the first time in this incarnation. And it's like just the endorphins that it creates are so powerful. So it's not, it's like that feeling is also what our inner children are like looking for. It's like, have a new adventure. Let's try something different. And
so different.
Yes, so different. Okay, whoa, all right. So here is some aliens.
Oh yeah, I was gonna the alien dream.
Usually at the top of the show, I try to say like what we're going to talk about, but we've really just hopped on into this one.
Here we go.
But okay, so this is another thing. Our last podcast, which was the "You Are Safe" episode, where part of what I was talking about was letting our inner Cassandra, like letting go of our inner Cassandras, letting go of or letting them die off or whatever, which is the prophet who sees catastrophe coming, or the oracle who sees things coming and then has to endure them, instead of like the new, which is a very interesting thing because like so many people are tapping into their oracle abilities again. And so we're kind of in this phase of going back into like the prediction, but we're actually, the period we're actually in now is not about predicting as much as it's about choosing and creating. So in order for us to feel that and like feel into it and feel the possibility of it and experience it, we're like we have to let go of or we don't have to, but we are in the process of letting go of our inner Cassandras, where for me, I have a lot of prophetic dreams and stuff. And it's like, oh, just because I have a prophetic dream, like I can be like, no, you know, if it's like a dark prophetic dream, like I don't, and I'm not talking about this very coherently, but it's this shift. And so I've been going through this shift, and like, as I've been going through this shift, I've also been taking this lucid dreaming class that's all about controlling or commanding your dreams. Sometimes the word control is a bit you know, like you're very rigid and you can't let anything, you have to micromanage everything, but it's about the choice, the ability to be like, yes, no, or like, nah, I don't really actually want to go down that timeline. And so it's all about these techniques when you're dreaming to minimize or like you can shrink things in your dreams or make them bigger to like amplify them or diminish them in your waking life, all this cool stuff like that. So the reason I brought that up was I was thinking to myself recently about like, okay, if I had another like big prophetic dream, I think now I would know like that it doesn't have to come to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can just whatever. So sure enough, my brain's like, okay, let's play that out. So I had this dream. So it was very interesting. Because I felt like I was getting alien intel, but it was also just like it provided me with an option, the opportunity to be like, no, this doesn't feel like the actual future. This just feels like something that could come to pass, but doesn't feel necessarily super interesting to me the way it was presented. So it doesn't feel like I'll hop into the timeline where that comes to pass.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's the fucking dream, you ask? So there was a guide in it who was explaining things to me. And I had actually in real life the day before been drawing these like elongated kind of alien forms.
Mm.
And so they showed up in my dream, but it was like as the Greys or the Zetas, who I feel a direct connection to. I know I've had
Me too. Yeah.
inclinations to as well as them, and I feel very like at peace with them as an alien species. But they're the ones who are associated with abduction and like probing and stuff. So in this thing, they were coming onto Earth in great numbers, and they had like these fangs, and they were like really like elongated, I think, but they were also kind of small. Anyway, they were like flooding in onto an elevator. Like I was going down the elevator, and they were like flooding past, coming on the elevator. And I'm just gonna actually pull up my notes so I hear it. Yeah, it was in a kind of a research space that I was in.
Okay.
So yeah, sometimes we were coming down the escalator in the dark. It was very scary. And I had seen the Greys earlier. Then I saw them pouring onto the escalator next to us as we were disembarking. They looked fearsome. I could tell they weren't. I could feel their hearts, and I felt very weird towards them. But I was like, whoa, that's a lot. There was like hundreds of them streaming in. So the guide was like, that's the Greys. They share almost all of the same genetic materials as us. It was like your cousin or sibling who just doesn't like this food while you like that food, or some very minor difference like that was how they were explaining it.
Interesting.
And then there were these other little gray beings that were like this big,
really tiny,
just heads, or they were just like really like teeny, and they had the big oval heads with the eyes, or some of them had just like funny little bodies, and they were also gray, and they looked very cute, and they were like on a desktop dancing. And I was like, "Aw!" And then the guide was like, "Yeah, they're called the principal," and I hadn't heard that one before. And she was like, "They're cuter, but they're like," it was like something less nice than the Greys. She's like, "They look cuter, but."
Okay.
And they were some kind of a predecessor to the Greys, and she's like, "Yeah, you don't really want to like get too involved with them." Maybe where the Greys have evolved from or something,
Yeah.
And then my partner Mike was in the dream, and so I was passing this on to him. I was like, they share almost all of our genetic material. And then I was like, wait, I think in the future the human race might meld or crossbreed or join with the Greys, and we would become a hydrid. And that guide was like, yeah, that was the plan. And the thing that hung me, who would look like? I was like,
Yeah.
Humanity has like a wide variety of looks. And they're just kind of all really
the same.
Yeah, gray, skinny. And then there was also some talk of a medical advancement in the future. Oh, this isn't true. I'd forgotten about this.
Oh.
You wouldn't have to, the way they were saying, I think it's a metaphor. What they were saying was you wouldn't have to have separate tubes or catheters to remove something from the body after putting it in. Like the same tube could pump in blood or medicine and then suck out what needed to be sucked out.
Oh, interesting.
But that just also feels like
that feels like a metaphor, though. Yeah, like for
some kind of like consolidation of the healing process.
Yeah,
it's like you're able to bring in what you need, even as the stuff
flushing out
is at the same time, instead of like having to go through multiple phases or something.
That makes sense.
yeah, so when I woke up, I was like, oh, okay, this idea that we're going to merge with the grays. And I was like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it would be a terrible timeline or anything like that, but I didn't perceive it in the same way that I might have in the past, where I was like, oh, this is telling me something about
Yes.
where we're going, very likely. Like, I always know there's like, infinite timelines and whatever, but like, it just felt more like, here you go, here's something to see. And then like you say, does that feel like it's definitely there's a strong likelihood that you're going down that path or no? So anyway.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I was seeing some things recently where it's like, oh, you think your spiritual journey is going to be all like magic and like wondrous new experiences, and then it's just like so emotionally intense and all that. What? No, that's a choice. Like yeah. you can shift away from that stuff. Like there's no, it's like, we're not doomed to that.
No, definitely not doomed to anything.
What I also feel is part of my role here is to, like, for anybody who ever listens to me or is activated, just the way we can all activate each other is like to cut out that stuff or like reduce it, because it's not that it can't be beneficial or has no purpose, but it's not actually like,
it's not necessary, or it's not like inevitable or whatever.
Well, it's not necessary, and it's not like heroic or noble or better to go. It just is like, it's all neutral, so, and I'm saying this having just come out of like the hugest dark period, shadow period, like death rebirth thing that was totally took over my life. And anyway, this is where I 100%, I'm a paradox straddler, so I exist in both realities. Like, I'm here to say, like, suffering and pain, it's pointless. There's nothing to be gained or learned. And I'm also, from my experience, here to say that, if you go through something really painful and suffering, take whatever you can from it. Enjoy your lessons from it. Enjoy whatever, just because that makes it a lot more fun than beating yourself up for it or whatever. But yeah, it's just, it's not necessary. It's not necessary.
This is where my sister would quote Dodgeball. Necessary? Is it necessary to drink my own urine? No, but it's delicious or something. I fucking can't remember the line, but whenever anyone says necessary. Oh, necessary to drink my own urine?
No, but I mean, I'm not going to get on a whole tangent about suffering because there's like a million things I have to say about it, but I'll save that for another time. But
okay. With enough suffering talk.
Enough suffering talk while I have these stitches in my chin. I feel so, this shapeshift, I'm not going to get into the details of my health thing, but I had a health thing and I lost 55 pounds, which is maybe a third or a bit more than a third of my, but anyway, I was like, I look quite thin, maybe gaunt right now, but I've gained 25 pounds back. So,
oh, congrats. Yay.
So imagine this minus 25 more pounds. So why did I start talking about that? Probably a reason I'm blanking right now. It's not useful to talk about it all. So
okay, fair enough.
Okay, we'll move on from it. But anyway, my point still stands.
Was it more body stuff?
Oh, like, no, yes. Actually, it was off the topic of suffering. It was that it's such a massive shapeshift for me, and it's made me feel really like androgynous in a different way than I've ever felt before. And just, anyway, it's just, and also like otherworldly and all sorts. It's just been a real trip to have this current form. Oh, I know, because I was talking about, I mentioned my, or I thought about mentioning my stitches. I've never had any kind of, like, I've never broken a bone, and this is the first time I've ever gotten stitches, but I know this is like a very binary way to look at gender, but it just makes me feel so boyish to have a couple of stitches in my chin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a little boy or like a teenage boy thing to have,
Gender journey's funny.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I'm on estrogen right now too, so it's a very interesting time for. Yeah. I've started. I've now taken full-on testosterone and full-on estrogen. I'm taking all the hormones.
So fascinating. Yeah, it's weird because, like, you were talking about androgynous, and I was thinking how I had been sort of chewing on that for myself too, and how I'm like, I don't know. it's probably the Aquarius thing. Aquarius is so androgynous anyway. We both have big, but regardless, I don't know. I bring everything back to astrology, but whatever. I've been feeling into a lot of what even is femininity or masculinity or any of that stuff and what it means for me to embody any of those things. And I never really thought about embodying masculine energy before. I mean, I know I have it and that like, whatever, but I haven't like externally thought about like how I look or feel or whatever, either masculine or feminine, and how I'm starting to get the feeling that my femininity, which I've never felt comfortable with because I've never felt like I embody it, quote unquote, the way I should, like it's just, you get programmed with ideas about what a woman is supposed to look like, whatever. So I'm just like, well, what do I want to look like? And it's interesting because I finally felt into being comfortable with my femininity in that sort of like ultra femme kind of way, but it's also tempered with this masculine energy that I really like. And it kind of stems from music a little bit for me, where I feel like that frequency, I don't know how to describe it necessarily. I'm kind of chewing on this out loud, but like I've just been noticing that I kind of am enjoying like the drag king energy and the whole like, maybe it's because I'm also working on tractors and things and stuff where I feel like I'm doing. And again, it's, I don't want to be in the binary, but it's still like, you were saying you feel boyish. I'm like, I feel like a cool masculine, feminine person working on these things that I never really have done before. And so it's just and I felt into how much of both that I am and I like, and that it doesn't necessarily make me androgynous, but I also kind of enjoy that androgyny where like you can't quite tell. I think you're always going to be able to tell that I'm a woman, but also maybe I could play with that, and maybe you could, I don't know. It's just been really, and I've never thought about this stuff for myself before ever. Like I see all my friends going on these journeys and all kinds of stuff with their genders and stuff, and I'm like, I don't not think about it necessarily, or I just did. I've never been this deep with it before, and so whatever this fucking year has unlocked for me, it's really an interesting.
I just today started watching King of Drag, which is
What's that?
It's a new reality competition show just for drag king.
Oh.
And I was like, first of all, I've watched Drag Race since the very first season. I feel a very strong soul connection to the show, and it's like first season was like so kind of underground, like rough, raw energy, and that's kind of what this season has. So it's just got that nice like newness.
I like that, yeah.
Coming together, but it's also just so I just find it really moving, and it's definitely been a long time coming, but it's just been really fun. Also in this sequel that I just wrote, Mara has a punk persona for the band that ends up being like a masculine drag persona as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Nice. But that's so cool. You can watch it for free. It's at some streaming platform called Philo with an I.
Never heard of it.
And then the episodes are on there for free. So
okay, cool.
Accessible, and it's just a lot of fun, and I like they've clearly taken the Drag Race format, but they have really fun and nice tweaks to it, and there's a like community.
Oh, that sounds good.
Ethos underpinning all of it.
Awesome.
It's I was getting very verklempt watching it multiple times. I was like, oh. But I love to hear that, experiencing that as well. Yeah, it's funny for me that when I took testosterone, I ended up looking more conventionally masculine, and now that I'm on estrogen, I look more conventionally masculine as well. It's like everything brings out
masculine.
A more masculine version of me physically.
Yeah.
The hormone.
I can't wait till we can do this on our own. We don't have to like take external stuff.
Yeah, that is, I mean, we get to choose, but that I feel that timeline very strongly.
Yeah.
I feel that timeline of being able to just, even if you go on the hormones initially, to like accustom yourself to the frequencies, but then you don't need them and you just know the frequencies, and then eventually we won't need them at all, as well as complete internal control over pregnancy.
Yeah. That's the one. And I was having a struggle, like getting on board with that one in my earlier awakening periods, because I believed it, because it felt true to me. But I was like, "There's no possible way. You can't. How in the world?" And now I'm seeing how it's. Oh, you just kind of decide. And I'm not quite there, that yet. But I think one of our mutual friends had an experience with that where she controlled it to a certain extent. I was like, whoa. So she's hacking some stuff around that.
Yeah, and menstrual,
Mm-hmm.
well, like menstrual cycle, menopause, all of it.
Oh, that menopause.
Anywho, so that was the alien dream stuff. Oh, we've been experimenting with the lucid dreaming where, well, I don't know if you may have had more experiences than me, but I know you
Really?
had, as soon as I took the lucid dreaming class, it unlocked something in me where I was able to have one dream where I was fully lucid, where I was like, and it was after a conversation with you where I had talked about hearing about the technique where you write like you're dreaming on your hand, and I was like, maybe I should write it on my hand in real life, and then I forgot to do that, and then that dream things were very, very, all of these cool things, very, very magical were happening, very psychedelic, and then I was like, wait, I'm dreaming, and then I was just looking around, and I was like, oh, I'm dreaming, yes, I really am, I'm dreaming, and I know I'm dreaming, and then someone walked by with like the thing written on her hand, and I was like,
oh, she had it for you.
And since then I haven't had anything quite like that happen, but that was very cool.
That is awesome.
Breakthrough.
Yeah.
And you had a dream, it was to do with opening the door, like you were like there was a door.
Oh yeah, I had a dream where somebody locked me in a basement, and I could feel consciously that I was like, well, in the movies or in a story that there was a door across from me, and I was like, that door would also be locked and I would be trapped in here. But I was like, what if it's unlocked? What if I just decide it's unlocked and it's unlocked? It was kind of, and I wasn't conscious that I was dreaming, but like I was consciously thinking these things in the dream. It was weird. And so I went to the door and it was unlocked and it was totally fine. And I wasn't ever really scared, but I could feel like panic, maybe like if the door had been locked, I would have panicked or something. But like it was just like, no, I went over there and I opened it and I was like, oh, of course it was fucking unlocked. I wanted it to be, and so it was. And that is more, I don't know if there's a difference between lucid dreaming and astral travel, or I don't really know. Maybe there's overlap or tied in or something, but I feel like those are some of the experiences that I consider astral travel-y, where it's like Teleranriyad or whatever in Wheel of Time, and it's you're dream walking, but I'm just not quite conscious of it yet. But yeah, oh, and then I met up with you later. I don't know if it was that dream or a different dream, but in that dream or whatever, the snippet of dream that I remembered, you and I were about to go into a house, and beforehand I was like, oh yeah, I want to check my appearance. So I took out my phone and looked at like a selfie just to see, and I looked like I do in real life. And I was proud of myself because that meant I was strong enough. I was a strong enough dreamer that I could hold my form in the astral or whatever. And you obviously were having no trouble either. But for me, I was surprised, like, oh, I can hold my form in the astral.
That's very lucid right there.
That's true. It's just so weird because I can't quite.
Whereas if you knew you were dreaming, you were in control of your reality to that. So you did both.
That's true.
But that's friggin' awesome. And just to say the book series, The Wheel of Time, it's a fantasy series, and a big part of it is about dreamwalkers, and they study going to this, or sometimes they don't study, they just learn it through experience, going to this dream world that's called Teleranriyad, where you can control everything, like what you're wearing, everything, and you can even like control the air or the water and like change all sorts of things. And you can also go visit other people in their dreams, like you can go to the space where you see everybody's dreams, and you can like go into them and go out of them, and you can meet up, and there's all sorts of things. And that very much feels like a map of like breadcrumbs of like what's possible with lucid dreaming. And I think there is a lot of overlap between astral travel. I mean, I think there's a version of astral travel that I just call dream walking, where you go into other people's dreams.
Yeah.
Which I've definitely done, but not been at the point where I was like fully aware of that I was dreaming and I was doing it. But there's also a form of astral travel that you can do when you're not asleep, where you like leave your body and here it goes a wandering in like IRL, which our mutual friend Daniel.
Oh my gosh, his ability to do that is so incredible. I know he can't really necessarily control it yet or whatever, but like he will.
Yeah. And so that's a very cool thing as well. And I have experienced it in a dream, but like it was an incredibly vivid, like for me, it wasn't it was the same as if I experienced it in a waking life, because it was so powerful, sensorily powerfully the way the memory stays with me is the way the memories of things that happened in my waking life stay with me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And as I say, learning to go into the hypnagogic state and like alter things and then have that reflected in waking life, or be lucid in your dreams and take control of things, and or even if you're not fully lucid but you like take control of things in your dreams, that's like very powerful for your waking life as well, obviously. We also there's been a lot of shared dream experiences, and we had recently had on the same day we had both had dreams of raccoons coming into our homes, like kind of our homes.
That was pretty hilarious. Good old trickster energy.
Yeah, I think at some point I will want to, it'll be interesting at some point on the podcast to just talk a bit more about our experiences of our gender, because they're so tied up with like the fluidity of reality to me.
Yeah.
They're just kind of inextricably linked.
I agree. Is there anything else on your...
I think I'm tapped out.
Oh,
but
okay, cool.
If you have... I mean, you were talking to me about the upcoming moon and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess I could do a little astrology, just a quick little lunar thing. We're coming up, today's August 21st, and the 23rd is the Virgo new moon at 0 degrees, 23 minutes. And so 0 degrees is obviously to me like new beginnings for real. Like I know all new moons are like that, you know, in general, but like when it hits that, when it falls at the 0 degree point, I'm like, there's an extra special something. And then the 23 is like the chromosomes, like body, you know, DNA type stuff. And Virgo rules the 6th house, which is the body and daily life and stuff. So there's like new beginnings, new energy really coming in for this like body upgrade stuff. And like the energy that we just dealt with over the Aquarius full moon took me the fuck out, like really cleaned me out from the oh boy. And then you had the physical stuff with like falling on your anyway, we both just kind of like punched through some stuff energetically or whatever, making way for the new things. And so not only is this a special lunation because it kicks off eclipse season, it's not an eclipse, this new moon is not an eclipse, but it's like we've got this new moon in Virgo, and then we've got the Pisces eclipse, and then we've got a second Virgo new moon, which is also an eclipse. So we've got this big, which is at the 29th degree of Virgo, which is the last degree of Virgo. It really just feels like this bookend of stuff. Stuff is happening over these next 3 lunations. And you were telling me that when an extra new moon happens in a season, that's a black moon. So this one is like coming up right now in a couple days is the black, you know, new moon. And it's fat because I'd never actually heard of that. And it's just like, it feels, you know, more, well, to me, it feels divine feminine, but also I'm sure there's more than just that or whatever, but like, it's very interesting energy, this whole next coming, and September, I know September feels lit anyway because of like eclipses and stuff, but like, I keep forgetting that the eclipses are in September, and I keep feeling sort of like separate energy or whatever that's coming through that's like, oh my God, September is going to be so much. And so it's probably all, you know, kind of overlapping and related anyway, but it's just going to be a real interesting time, and I feel like it's going to be good. And I've been trying to like, I'm not nervous about eclipse season, but like I sort of also feel a little nervous for eclipse season because every time I'm like, I'm not going to experience it, and then I fucking do. And so I know that it's a choice. You don't have to buy into like the storyline where it's going to be tumultuous or, you know, whatever. It could be good. What if it's absolutely amazing, hilarious, fun? And that's my experiences of eclipses from now on. But it does feel really big. So
you and I were talking about it where I was saying with the Mercury retrograde that it was like things kept happening Mercury retrograde, and I just, as much as possible, kept being like, that doesn't need my attention. I don't need to like, you know, like it doesn't need to like suck me into anything, or like it was just giving it less and less attention. So I think it's a gradual process which is also what ties into something else. And I also was saying that what made me able to do that was being on a combination of this new estrogen that evens out my hormonal cycle, and a very, very, very low dose SSRI, as well as a very, very low dose of Ativan that has like made it for my body and my nervous system at this point in time to have to dial down the stimulation and all the volume of everything so that I could be like, no, again,
Yeah.
like just, but it's like, that's also the part of the Cassandra dying is when you have a dark prophecy and then it does come true. It's just like not getting, it's like, okay, that happened that time, but
Doesn't have to happen next time.
Just progress. You're just making progress. It's happening less and less often, you know, and then sometimes maybe you'll have a little cycle and it flares up, but it's just like ignore, like it's like, nope, we're not treating that as though it's the truth, you know, and like that it's like, oh no, we experienced it, so we're back in it for no, it's just keep leaving it in the past. Also, with the 8-8, I want to have an episode where we talk about that period between the 7-7 and an 8-8. But my friend who attends these channeling sessions that she's attended since she was a kid, and they like to give like global updates. Anyway, they said that this 8-8 was the 0 point, which I had been getting synchronicities and messages about going towards 0 since like the early spring, and it was like a reset from that point on of August 8th of this year. It's like what happens in the past, you just leave it in the past and keep moving. Feels very much like tied into post-karmic reality again, like not having to live out karmic lessons in the way we used to. You just consciously choose.
Yeah.
And again, just like I was saying, it's like a very gradual process because as a species, we actually seem to really have quite a strong attachment to karmic reality. And so I've just been thinking about this lately. Like, I think sometimes that part of us is that deep down in all of us that's aware that it's all optional and we could step completely out of it at any point is like very overwhelming. And so I find that very helpful. So it's like, I like to think of it as like titrating.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It might be helpful if you're thinking, okay, what percent less of a karmic reality could I tolerate being in now? Like, without reacting strongly to, you know?
Yeah.
And like go with that versus trying to be like, okay, I need to go from 0 to 100 immediately, you know?
That's, yeah, I keep getting tripped up on that, or I have been. I'm easier, it's easier to let it go, but that was a big sticking point for me.
I mean, this one right now, because I had just had like so many days in a row where I was like, yep. And then this out of nowhere, it was rattling me. But again, thanks to also all the cocktail, all the like, you know, the past 5 years of my life. But it's so much easier for me to not go into that cycle of like rumination and like worry and like I have to figure out why this happened and I have to figure out the lesson so that I, you know, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it just happened. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm excited to make. I do also want to talk about that 7-7 to 8-8 and how I also think that Hellenistic astrology is tied into the inverted matrix, and that's why I think astrology is going to change so much, because as we unplug from that, it's like, well, then the roadmap is completely different.
The things that were the hardest for me in this Mercury retrograde were the things with my partner, because we are around each other for such prolonged periods. So there were such obvious boogeymen and like cobwebs from the past flaring up. They were so obvious, but to be the way my human design is, how I take in other people's mental energy and emotions, to be around it and stay in that perspective of like, nope, like that was the most challenging for me, I think, in this period.
Yeah.
Where I like fully went back into like the stories and stuff.
I did too.
Upset and got really rattled and like got like engaged him on things where everything was telling me it's like just ignore, don't engage. But I was like, no, I'm gonna engage and I'm gonna like escalate this, you know. So that was just I throwing that out there because from a human design thing, like it's kind of interesting. It's like the part where I was face to face with another human being in close proximity was the one that like really
gets you.
Was the trickiest one for me.
Yeah, that conditioning.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure because I have to go revisit his exact birth time, but I actually went and pulled up tried to pull up his human design chart, and it was saying that he had a defined ajna, and I was like, oh shit, and I haven't. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that explains. I think it's fun to use numbers and stuff to like think of like, okay, so we had this huge karmic reset on August 8th, and we're really moving into post karmic reality. So like, yeah, like what percentage of that could I just comfortably tolerate for now, you know?
Yeah, for now. Titrating just takes the time it takes.
I'd say try to pick a percentage that at least you would notice, so you won't spend all your time trying to like be like,
is this amount? Is this it? Is this it?
Don't pick something so low that it would be hard, and you might just end up in the mental space constantly trying to figure out if you're actually in it or not. That you'll really it'll hear, but something that's just comfortable and tolerable, and it's not going to be pushing and forcing.
Yeah.
Gosh, I guess I need to hear this message. Geez.
Me too. I'm always re-listening to our podcasts as I'm editing them, and I'm like, yep, I needed to hear that again. I needed to hear that again.
I'm like, oh fuck, you're talking to yourself, right?
It's funny because that happens to me even on my own streams. Like when I'm editing them and putting them up on, I'm like, well, fuck, I needed to hear that. I really do just, and that it actually is kind of a relief to me because like, a part of me is holding on to being like, oh my God, that is so self-centered and arrogant. Like you have so many amazing things to say that like, it's so important. And so there's a part of me that has that story, and I want to drop that story because I'm realizing that I really am just a channel, and it's fun to just kind of, it's like taking your hands off the wheel and letting the higher self who knows better, in my perspective, it's like, just let Jesus take the wheel kind of shit. And I'm like, and when I relax and let the words come out, even though I still feel flaily sometimes, like half the time when I'm up on my stream, I'm just like, am I off in la la land? I don't fucking know. And then I rewatch it and I'm like, damn, I was like poised and shit. And like, I said some stuff. And so I'm like impressed with myself. And so anyway, it helps me to feel special because like I know I am special and I genuinely believe that and feel that, and it's like really awesome because it helps my inner child who never felt special or whatever. And then it's also just like, but you are also a vessel for like God. It's not really, it's me, but it's not me. It's like a higher Hello, everybody. We are Space Cats, Zadikat, Sun Portal, and dreadpiratekk here. we got cut off on our last episode, and we tried to record a follow-up to that, and that got lost because Mercury retrograde shenanigans or whatever. We just weren't supposed to have it. So we are now on August 28th. I forget when we recorded the last time. It was what, 5 days ago or something? Anyway, it's a different day.
Exactly 1 week ago.
Okay.
So it was, and the reason I'm being anal about that is will become apparent in a second. Yeah, it was the 21st.
21st. Okay. I almost said 21st, then I was like, maybe it was 5. Anyway, so yeah, what we don't remember what we I remember being cut off in the middle of my sentence, so I will finish that thought, but otherwise we don't really remember all that we talked about or what we recorded in the second part, so we're just gonna go with the flow and see what pops out of our mouths. But one of the reasons we wanted to jump on today, because we wanted to show and talk about some things with body miraculousness. So take it away, Zadikat.
So I wanted to record again today because if you watch the video, which I just highly recommend checking out on Spotify or YouTube, just even just a moment of it to see my face and then to see my face again now. But you know that I fainted while doing breath work, fucked up my face, but it was like covered in a lot of gashes and scrapes, especially on my nose and my chin. And I had to have stitches underneath my chin, but I had some scrapes on my cheek and my forehead, a really big one on my nose and on my chin here too. And completely gone. Like my face healed so rapidly. And it wasn't the first time this has happened in the past month. And I have been getting these thinks about 60 bodies forever, especially on my own path this year with everything I've gone through. It was like death is going to happen and then the 60 body is going to come online. And this just feels like total miraculous 60 healing shit because, well, one of the things was I'd also scraped up my hand, and that I've never had something like this happen to my face before, but I have had something almost identical happen to my hand, and I remember how long it took. And I also have my partner Mike, who's like seen so many injuries, and he was like, "This is crazy." He's like, "You're where, and you're where you're at now, where I'd expect you to be in like a month from now." So I was like, "No," it was like, "Okay, so it's not just me in my head." I'm like, "No, this is like really, really rapid healing," and this is we could have recorded this a few days ago, and
Yeah.
identical to how I look right now. It was like starting day 4, day 5, like
Gone.
the whole chin thing just came off with like fresh skin underneath. The nose thing came. It's just been wild. And before this, so part of the reason was you had recommended this comfrey salve that like really healed this cat scratch wounds and like left no scars. So I was like, oh, I'll definitely get that, and that was definitely helpful. But I had already had an experience of falling off a bike a few weeks ago and having really rapid healing with bruising, where it was just like, instead of like, you know, when you fall really hard and you're like, oh God, I know what kind of bruises is going to be. Instead of ever getting to that point, it just faded. It got like a little, not really dark at all, and then just quickly faded away. And that was the exact same thing that happened this time with my bruising as well. So it's just been very, very powerful. And I'm wondering if other people are having similar 6D experiences, but I just wanted to talk about it because it truly is like, holy shit. Like,
Do you want to maybe, before you go on, do you want to, for anybody who doesn't really know what you mean by 6D body stuff?
I don't even really know what I mean. I just was like hearing like your 6D body come online, and this is like me experiencing what that is, because I knew, okay, so to back up a little bit, ever since the beginning of my awakening, which has been very tied up with physical healing things and like learning about energy healing and stuff, I have gotten messages and downloads about our new bodies and our new DNA and like the crystalline bodies, which other people talk about. And it's like a future humanity's bodies will be more of a crystalline structure that allows for, I think, lots of things like
Anti-aging and stuff.
lots of, yeah, like maybe like super rapid healing and anti-aging and all sorts of stuff. And what was coming through is, but then I also got stuff, so the crystalline stuff, which I always get kind of like bits and bobs of things. I'm not necessarily somebody who goes deep, so there's other people I've heard talking about go deeper on the crystalline body, but for me it was just like, it's going to be like a lot. It's going to be like having, you know, super healing powers and like anti-aging powers and stuff like that, and a lot more autonomy and sovereignty over your body and your reproduction. That was also like control over pregnancies, control over your menstrual cycle, things like that. Maybe we talked about that last episode. Anyway, but then in addition to the crystalline, I was also getting stuff personally about plasma, which was like even the step beyond the crystalline, which is very, you know, of course, it's like much more fluidy. Well, plasma is its own state, but it's like very advanced. And yeah, I think I'll come back to that. I think maybe like a meditation or something and like get a bit more downloads and then come back to talk about the plasma body. But it's very interesting, and I'm starting to hear things more in science about plasma and stuff too that are like connecting up. So those were the initial downloads I was getting. And then when I went through this whole health journey this past year, all the digestive stuff, lost all the weight, all the crazy whatever, the way that we're phrasing it was your 6D body. So I guess the 6D body is kind of like maybe a combination of the crystalline or the plasma, some of the plasma, but it's like, you know, it's just consciousness stuff. It's like when you get to the point where you're like consciously and like post karma, as in post having to live out certain cause and what's it called, cause and effect things, like it's like, oh, this happened, so therefore because of that I have to go through this experience or whatever. That's my kind of version of what I'm talking about when I talk about post-karmic reality, is we stop having to do this. Like, nope, this happened and I can just stop it in its tracks and skip the effect part if I want to. Something along those effects, including things that happen to our bodies. And when I talk about this feels like accelerated healing, but oftentimes for me, things with my body also often feel like just shifting into a different version of my body that didn't have something happen. Is not in that, it's at a different frequency, so it's like you don't even, it's not even so much healing as just shifting over to that.
That's really fascinating, because I've heard Alex Collier talk about, because he's an Andromedan contactee or whatever, not Andromeda the galaxy, Andromeda the constellation or something like that. I don't know, whatever the fuck. Anyway, there's also some controversy over that in general, but regardless, I've heard him talk about these Andromedan beings, and they have this like machine or whatever that takes kind of like a photograph of you, but like all of you, like all versions or all points in time or some shit like that. And so if you're missing your, like if you have had surgery on your fucking kidney or whatever, and you don't have one for some reason, you can line up, you can take out or line up, and that's like quantum healing or something, where you can line up with that version of you that still had that kidney and then bring that kidney into existence in your present moment, even though like 2 seconds ago you didn't have one, or something like that. I might be explaining that poorly, but that's really fascinating to think about how you might have just done that with like anyway, that's a really cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. This to me felt like experiencing actual Excel. It felt like a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
When I was taking some energy healing courses. One of them that I took was with this healer, Cindy Dale, and she taught psychic surgery, which is very much that like transplant. You travel to a time and reality that has the type of healing that you need, and you bring it in, and you can also like travel to the version of reality that has the healthy organ to switch that out for your unhealthy organ, whatever. And this, to me, what I experienced with this kind of felt more like Joe Dispenza stuff. Like, yeah, you're actually experiencing the healing itself, but in a consciously activated way. But I just was like, holy shit, this is a bit of an intense way to be shown this.
I know.
But
I saw that photo you sent me and I was just like, how are you already here? It was like 4 days later and you were like, good.
I know, like, it's really something. And like the paint, like just that aspect too. Anyway, it's breaking down lots and lots of things, important things. And right now it's been really helpful for me as well. And I'm just continuing to bring the energy in around menstruation stuff, because that's been something that's felt like very like rigid and fixed and unbending, and my hormones and stuff. And it's like really like of that idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, this doesn't like, there's any number of paths, and I think having something like the comfrey salve is great because it allows your rational brain to just hook onto that and be like, this is really effective. Like hearing you say, oh, this was so, it's like great. That's a great tool to like lubricate, you know. And not that, I mean, it's also just, I'm sure that the comfrey salve in and of itself is just a really great tool, but it also helps like lubricate these experiences of consciousness. Yeah, but it's been a trip. Oh, and the other aspect of it that was like, again, very cartoonish reality was that when I got my stitches out of my chin yesterday, and the doctor, I live in Canada, and it was this walk-in clinic I've never been to before, but the doctor really, really felt, it was so my sense of humor, because he really felt like you're watching a play and there's a character actor who's just made a real choice with his character. He had a thick Cockney accent, and he was walking with a very pronounced limp, and it just felt like very in a play. Yeah. And he was like, oh love, you're a star, love, oh you're doing great, love. Like the whole time he was like, oh it's healing beautifully, love, oh gosh, oh I'm such a shame, it's always the way, isn't it, love. Like he was just and he was so kind, and it took like no time at all, and it was easy breezy, and it gave me the laugh that I was really craving and needing.
Good. Which
I forget if I mentioned, but that just also ties in with this Naked Gun stuff. The Naked Gun movie coming out reminded me of when I was a kid and I went to see Naked Gun. Am I saying the exact same thing I just said on the other? Anyway, who cares?
I don't think you did.
I went to see the Naked Gun. My parents and I would sometimes go across the border, because we live close to the border, and watch movies in the US. And we went to see Naked Gun, the first one that came out, together. And it's like, blew my mind. I'd never seen a spoof movie. So I was like, whoa. And I laughed so hard and I enjoyed it. And like all the little Easter eggs, including the credits at the end, they had jokes. It was like, oh my God, you can have jokes in the credits. And there's a long drive home afterwards. And I just remember like looking around everywhere and expecting the billboards to have jokes and everything to have jokes. And I was like, just expecting that that's what reality would be. And now I feel like I'm entering that era. And that was like, I've been getting messages like, you're in the Naked Gun era, and then that experience really felt like it. So I was like, oh, that was tailor-made to crack me up. That wonderful doctor.
Because they're making a new Naked Gun, right? Is that what kind of brought this on?
Naked Gun that was just released with
oh, it's out.
Yeah, with Liam and Pamela Anderson, who are
what?
They're an item now.
What? Cool.
Actually, I want to let you get to your thing, but I find Pamela Anderson just very interesting presence with just the way her whole energy has shifted since she's decided to go makeup free, and just like she's also been living on like a farm on her own in I think I can't remember where, it might be somewhere in Canada because I think she's Canadian, but she's just been living with her dogs and like just like really like getting into nature and like simplicity and all these things. And
that's what I was gonna, that was my original like what, because you said Pamela Anderson. I was like, oh my gosh, she's really done a shift, because I didn't know about any of this stuff, but I saw a random clip of an interview she was in and I was like, that's Pamela Anderson. And her, you're right, the energy just like shifted. And I kind of liked her before anyway. Like I just have always really liked her for some reason. I don't, she's had a fun personality, but seeing her this way, I'm like, oh wow, she went there. Good for her. Like I'm just like really even more excited because she feels like a, I don't know, this divine feminine presence. Just she's not taking shit. I mean, she never really took shit from anyone, but like I don't know. It's a really, I've just always liked her energy, and it's nice to see her in a even more natural state. Although I enjoyed, you know, her in makeup and stuff too. It's like she really owns her own, like she's not going to let anybody tell her what is good and what is bad and what, you know, what should be hers and whatever. And I just really love that she's doing two, not extremes, but kind of extremes, you know what I mean? Where it's like she's just like, whatever, I'm going to explore all this shit and I don't care what anyone thinks of me.
and I think it's a having very powerful ripple effects.
I think so too.
For women who don't necessarily want to continue wearing makeup, or like maybe never wanted to wear makeup or whatever. Yeah. So it's very, but just an interesting couple, those two.
And yeah, that was my second what. I was like, they're in, good for them. You know what I mean? I always love it when people, I mean, I'm assuming they're happy. They're at least happy now. So I'm glad they're going for it. I feel like divine partnerships are really amping up these past few years. Like people are finding their peeps.
Yes. I feel like I talked a mile a minute there. Sorry, guys.
No, you didn't.
Because it just felt so. Here, I'll just put my face up, but like.
And you don't even have any scars. I can't see any.
No. Like it's like these like huge scabs peeling away to like baby fresh skin.
That's wild.
And on multiple parts of the body too. Anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty miraculous and awesome.
Yeah.
Miracles are the new norm. It's funny because my cat Leonidas, who used to be named Guinan, I don't think we ever recorded while his name was Giorgio, but he went from Guinan to Giorgio, and now he's Leonidas. He chose Leonidas. Well, he chose them all really, but like he had an infected bite near his tail from some fight he was in or whatever, and I got it cleaned and, you know, blah blah blah, but it just, and then a few days after that, like I went into a severe emotional low that I was like, I felt like I was plunged into the poison to like bring that shit back out. It was gnarly. I punched a hole in my wall. But anyway, he was purging something, whatever, and then I was also purging something. And it's funny because a couple days ago I ran across a video from Jordan Crowder. I don't know if anybody knows him, but you should totally follow him. He's a really amazing, really gentle dude going through his awakening too, and really good shit to say, and he's fun and lighthearted. Anyway, he has this video about cats and how they're quantum tuning forks or something, I think he said. And he was like, and he probably, you know, I'm assuming if this applies to all pets in general, but he has 2 cats, and so that was what his downloads were about, and how they're purring. And I've known this for years too, where their purring is at the frequency or hertz or whatever of healing bone. And so when they sit on you and purr on you and just kind of recalibrate your chakras, and, you know, or if you're overthinking and they kind of sit up by your head and they kind of tune down some of the craziness there. And he was like, they're quantumly entangled with us. And so sometimes you'll see like a cat get sick and then its own, I hate saying owner, but whatever, the parent, the cat parent getting sick or whatever, or the opposite way around. And sometimes what they do when they're gathering up all this, like if you're feeling kind of funky or low or sick or, you know, like whatever, they're gathering all those positive ions from you as they rub up against you. And then they go out into the grass and like kind of roll it off and like clear things for you in that way. And I knew that cats and dogs and all other pets or whatever were, you know, soul family to a huge degree. And I knew that they were entangled with us in some, like they'll take, you know, certain things on and help us purge things or heal things or work through or, you know, whatever. But I hadn't thought of it in exactly that way, where they really just take on even like some of the more like when I'm in my lows and Tim Curry is all just kind of like snuggled up on me and stuff, and she'll just go out and roll around in the grass, and she doesn't keep it with her, you know. And I feel like I could learn a lesson from that, but I'm not going to think too hard about it because I'm just like, whatever. Yeah, a lot of purging and like new beginnings coming on, like the Virgo new moon. Like we recorded, I think, a couple days after that, and I got so much reset energy that day. Like it was insane. And we've been getting reset energy kind of like all throughout this period or whatever, but because the eclipse portal is open right now, it just feels like extra oomphy. And it's interesting because on the Virgo new moon day, I discovered I have a freezer in the garage with like a bunch of food to keep me through the winter and all the habits that most people have these when they live on farms and with big storage for like having stuff. My freezer had broken and all the food was rotted. And I had to throw away like $2,000 worth of food. And it was interesting because it was like one of those cartoon villain examples of a trigger where it's like, are you going to spiral into fear and anxiety and, you know, scarcity and all that stuff? And I did have a little bit of a cry about it, but I was like, almost immediately, I was like, well, I knew something was coming, and I knew that, and all these triggers, it's like, are you gonna, it's like the haunted house, but like it's like in the daylight, so you're kind of like, are you really scary? You know, whatever. And so I was kind of, I'm still, you know, pissed or whatever in certain ways, but like August and September, I knew were going to be choice points for like anchoring in the new self and the new habits, the new beliefs, the new, you know, whatever. And it's like once this eclipse portal moves past, it's like that really we're in that last trimester, because I remember us talking about, I think I mentioned that Archangel Raphael channeling about the trimesters and how we're in, since the spring equinox and the Aries eclipse, it's like a series of trimesters leading up to the winter solstice, where the new bodies and the new, like a lot of this stuff is really going to be blossoming and stuff like that. And so it feels like September is this new, we're not, it's not like we're not born yet, but it's just a real interesting lock-in of this reset, new beginnings kind of energy with this Virgo new moon. So anyway, I don't really know why I went off on that. Purging and I don't know, new bodies.
Yeah, that September does feel very locked in to me as well. What you were saying about the cats and what he said, whenever I didn't do too much animal healings, but I did some, and I was like experimenting for people and different stuff. And just the way I worked as a healer, that's the only way it ever showed me, was like what was going on with the human. It would always redirect. It was like, oh, what's going on with the human? So that was just like, for me, it was like, that's your entry point, is that like perspective, that kind of, yeah, of like,
cool.
So, and I mean, it definitely in my own life, like having so much fear being such a recurring journey for me, and my cats, like my two cats having kidneys, where all the kidney issues stuff and kidney disease. And anyway,
yeah,
having things that were like really, always things that were really connected to what we were dealing with in the household and stuff.
Yeah.
So not always the most effective, fast, quick solution to a pet situation, but definitely if you want to get to the like energetic root of things and like clear something for good, probably something to look into is just like getting the whatever stuff on yourself. But I mean, yeah, we do seem to have these agreements with our beloved sweet animals for them to just be able to offload some of the stuff. And it's interesting what happened when like the cats, our last cat Mystique passed away, and there was no more cats in our household. I also had plants would like offload a lot of
plants take stuff too. Yeah,
when there were no more cats, and then circled back around to like us having to figure out in our bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about a couple of things, planetary things that were interesting, that I think one of them got lost in that second episode, which was a meditation trip I did to Venus, where I stepped into, it was like, okay, you're going to go on a meditative journey. It was just like, step into this elevator, pick a floor, and see what happens when you get out. I picked a floor 16. I got out. I was in a pink and green world. I immediately knew it was Venus. There were lots of like tall plants everywhere, and then there were these beings walking towards me that had these like funnel shaped noses that were really narrow, but with like a funnel on each end. and they were tall and big eyes, and they kind of looked a bit like the type of gazelle or something, but they were pink and green too. But when they put its arm out, its arm unfurled like a fern, and I was like, oh, they're plant animal hybrids, which I was like, that's so cool, because there's been so much hybrid stuff coming through, and it's been such a big part of my awakening journey, like hybrid energy, but I hadn't considered that specific one before, the plant animal, including humans as animals. And I was like, that's really neat. And it showed me a potential future on Earth where instead of having a flower tattoo, you would have some kind of bioorganic thing where you could actually have the flower growing in your arm or out of your arm in this way. That was very interesting.
Cool.
And then it showed me the journey of this planet. So, oh, right, there was big mushroom consciousness. Ground we were walking on was all spongy mushroom. I really feel like mushroom consciousness is directing everything.
I think so too.
And like, I think, yeah, I remember mentioning this, like before there were even trees and stuff on Earth, there was this era where it was just these huge mushroom pillars. And I was like, wow, they really set the stage. These pillars that were like straight up phallus shaped, like massive stories high things. And so the mushroom consciousness was very present. And then because they were this showing it up as where I was walking around, it was like this tiny microcosm, and then there was these huge massive beings, giants, that looked like Pinocchios.
I don't remember. I do remember you saying that, I
Yeah,
guess.
like they almost seemed like the size of the planet itself, and they were like stomped. And I was like, okay, Pinocchio is like the same energy, and the word that came through was golem, which is Jewish monsters made out of clay that have no souls. So it was like the wound of having no soul, which one of the wounds that we're working through collectively, and it comes through in
AI stuff.
by cloning, genetic modification, and the idea that something can be created that doesn't have a soul, but it perceives itself as not having a soul, so it perceives itself as not being able to have a soul, but in fact that's like just an illusion because everything is connected. So for them to be able to get their souls back and go on that emotional journey, it was necessary for the microcosm Venusian beings to tap into their creepy, spooky side and become very creepy and spooky so they could like balance out the energy between the two groups and like tap into their own nastiness kind of. And so I was seeing that era, I was walking around in it, and they were having a good time, but it was like very like, I was like, okay, I'm not having a good time in this vibe. And that allowed the giant golem Pinocchios to come to their breakthrough around their souls, which was very emotional, very painful for them. There was a lot of grief. I heard it as it was the Venus as the planet of golems. This version of Venus was the planet of golems reimagined, is what they came through. And then once that was done, I said, well, what happened after the creepy period? And this period, they saw napping. It was like a really long period of rest. And then there was a period of great creativity and innovation.
Cool.
That was the Venus journey. And then earlier, you and I had talked about the moon because I tapped into the moon's energy. And I did want to share this on the podcast. And it was really interesting when we talk about lunar cycles and full moons and new moons and all that stuff. What it showed me was it's a lot of stuff that we project onto the moon of the chaos that it causes. When we think about full moons and the chaos of a full moon and people going wild and like, oh, howling at the moon and all that thing, that effect on us, it's a lot of a projected story. And the moon is willing to play out that projection with us because she kind of enjoys it. But if you go, it was a very surface projection. And then it was like, if you go inside the moon, it was like if you tunnel inside, I think it was a plasma type liquid or something, but it was very, very calm, gentle, grounded energy. So it was like not chaotic at all. Nothing wrong with chaos, but that's not what it was. And it was very steady and stabilizing. And so was like, if you feel like you're being too affected by the moon and that kind of stuff, if you feel like the moon disrupts your sleep and those cycles and you feel like it does bring chaos into your life or whatever, like you can just tap into that. You can like be like, okay, I don't want to work with that projection version. I want to go into the center and like go into the core of the moon and work with that energy and open yourself up only to that energy, and you just like bypass.
I love that.
And the other thing it showed was that the moon had its own light that's not just the sunlight reflected. It was some kind of phosphorescent something.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting. So funny how controversial a topic the moon is. So many stories about the moon.
but anyway, those two planetary things, it was some very interesting Venusian energy. And actually, I did a energy healing on somebody lately that had that connection to that version of Venus.
Hmm.
And it came through strongly as an ally. Oh, and the other thing about Venus, like, the Venus flytrap, it's a carnivorous. That's also like pointing us to that hybrid energy on Earth.
Interesting.
So I wonder if we're going to see more stuff on Earth that points, like more news stories that point to like that hybridic.
I love it. Yeah, we're already getting like extinct animals coming back and all kinds of like new animals and
But you were actually, oh my God, we went into a million things. Did you ever finish your thought? Yes,
oh
you cut off on the last
yeah,
podcast.
I don't remember where I was cut off, but I think I had mostly finished the thought. It was more me, if I had continued too much longer, it would have just been me saying the same thing over and over. But I was talking about how I'd reached this level of realizing that I am just a vessel and that my consciousness flows through me. And so it's like it was a really cool way of kind of separating my ego from my higher self, the one that without the ego, and not disregarding the ego because that's my character in this play that I'm in. You know what I mean? It's like I like my ego, but it was more a relief from my overthinking and my gotta figure it out and like push, that kind of energy that I've been so wrapped up in most of my life. And it's kind of like I take my hands off the wheel and I'm just like, okay, I don't have to think about something funny to say or something clever to say, or, whatever. It's like just open your mouth and let it come out. And I'm working on it still. It's not, whatever, but it's like it was a really cool exercise also in kind of feeling into that Aquarius Leo axis, which they're opposite, they're sister signs, whatever. And my sun is in Aquarius, but also my south node is in Aquarius right on top of my sun, and then my north node is in Leo. And so I've never really felt like I was relating to Leo energy at all, which is hilarious because that's like your north node. It's like what you're embodying in this this lifetime, or like moving towards your destiny, kind of simplistically. And so Aquarius is like the cynical view from Aquarius is like, yeah, you're special, just like everyone else, blah blah blah. But Leo, when it's well balanced with that Leo aspect, it's like, yeah, everyone is special, but like, oh my God, let's celebrate how cool everyone is and how special and unique everyone. You know what I'm? So it was a really nice, like, I am a spark of consciousness. I am this amazing wisdom. Like if I just leave my crown open and my let everything else kind of relax and just let my own fucking wisdom flow through me. I don't have to figure shit out kind of thing. And anyway, it was just a really cool breakthrough for me where I was like, oh, the burden isn't all mine. Because I've had struggles with like feeling all alone and having no support and, blah, blah, blah. And I still have those because I could use some human help, but whatever. It's more like I can trust myself that I'm bringing in the resources and people I need at the right time, and that because the reason that I am alone right now is because I'm fucking supposed to be, and I have to figure out my own shit. Because if I start all the things that I'm starting now, I have this tendency to kind of look to other people for good ideas or whatever because I don't think I have any or whatever. And it's like you have to start these things yourself so that they're yours, not someone else's. You're meant for you. And so it helped relieve some of the burden of being like, I still throw tantrums and stuff, but it was more like it's okay. Like, I don't know, you're just a vessel, and yeah, you're special and saying really amazing, cool shit. Like I feel really smart a lot of the time. I feel stupid a lot of times too, but like I'm like, what am I even, how do I know all this really cool shit? And and it can be, don't let my ego get too puffed up with like, oh, I have all these amazing things to say. It's like, well, yeah, spirit has all amazing things to say. You're the mouthpiece of those, so it's like, but yet I'm also spirit. So I am cool too. But anyway, kind of talking myself in circles, but you get the idea. So that was my little breakthrough. And now I have finished, I think, unless you have other things you want to say about it.
No, that's just like, it's such a peaceful way to feel. Like I had all kind of similarly been getting some messages about shifting the focus from your own life, because we've been in our journeys by necessity, and not in a bad way at all. It's such a big portion is very interior focused, because you're finding out like what's your truth and what's your actual perception, and separating it out from everything else, and like what do you want to be spending your time on, and what are your projections, and all that stuff requires so much internal looking at your own self in your own life. But so it was saying this not at all in like a shamey or like whatever way at all, but it was just like it's a good time now for those who have been on that journey for a long time to shift your energy, your attention or your thoughts as much as possible, or just like take the pressure off yourself from having to think about your own life so much, which is what you described is very much a version of that, just being a vessel. And this was coming through. It was like, and think about like how what you're doing is like contributing to the collective in some way, even whatever it is, if it's resting or whatever, but just thinking about the collective, the impact on the collective and the benefits to the collective. And that can bring peace. Like it's just because it's just because it'll feel good. Like a lot of the messages I've been getting for the past year, it's like, we're not telling you this, like, oh, you need to do this. It's an important part of your it's like, no, shadow work or like learning or whatever. It's like it's gonna feel better. It's gonna feel nice to not have to be so focused on you. Yeah, just let go of that, which I think, like my brain likes to latch on to things and really grip in. So it's like it's a gradual thing, but it's just nice to get those messages. Like it's like you can again take your foot off the pedal of your own thing and just have nice thoughts about like, oh yeah, like how is this gonna, what can I be doing, or what do I want to be doing for the collective, and what does the collective feel like what's going on there right now to like participate in and stuff. Definitely being called to a lot of like gentle socializing this fall. I did an oracle, I think I mentioned like my oracle cards that I make, the inner child ones that I make from children's books and stuff, collage. They're going to be in this quarterly online magazine, which anybody can access. So if you do want to see them, I'll make a note when it's out. You can go see what I said for fall, but a lot of the messages were about collective resting in groups, like chilling, like
Interesting.
Chilling out socially, not by yourself, like not necessarily big groups, but maybe with a friend or over Zoom or whatever, but just doing like fun and chill activities. And like parties were brought up.
Okay.
Just being in social spaces, participating in whatever activities that are group activities that are available to you that seem like nice and chill and maybe interesting, maybe something new that you've never done before, that kind of stuff. So just, more of that connectedness to the collective, where you just kind of lose yourself in the collective energy.
It's hard for me to imagine that right now because I do not want to be around people. I am homebound, bedridden, kind of just like, nope, not doing shit. But I mean, that's only a phase. You gotta move in and out of the hermit but hermit to socializing to, there's a good balance of both. But I have been in serious hermit mode almost the entire month of August.
Interesting.
So
yeah, well, I kind of bounced back and forth, but for me, I was in hermit mode for like the most extreme hermit mode of my life for 8 months of the past year. And so it has not been the case for me. taking classes or just like wanting to be outside. Like I do my morning exercises outside around the block. And I think part of it is just because like people walk by and that's nice.
Yeah.
See people and started like there's a guy that always walks by with his coffee and now we always say hello to
that's so cute.
And I now say hello to each other too. I have another too. There's a dog walker that I say hello to like regularly as well.
Oh my god, amazing.
I'm part of a community kind of.
That is so cute. I love it.
I feel like there's like so many. Well, you and I went on a rest journey together, but right now that was like months ago and I don't remember anything from it. We were doing it partially for rest and sleep at the time, but also to get feedback on lucid dreaming and like astral travel and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm taking a lucid dreaming class and I want to like report back more things from it as I learn. It's been very interesting.
Oh, you know what? I just had the thought because I remember one of the lucid dreaming things you were talking about was the blood serpent and how that was tied in to my tick bite. And I realized I hadn't. Did I talk about my tick bite? I don't think I did. But I don't have to go into the whole story now. But it just made me think that like
That was
that was part of my 6D
that was
activation.
great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't feel like it now, that's fine. But at some
Oh, it's
you should,
yeah. I can totally. It's, I mean, because again, I don't think I mentioned it, but just in case. Anyway, I'll quickly. So over the Gemini moon in May, I got a tick bite on my right ovary. How it ended up there, and it was one of those things where it was like it should not have been able to happen. Like anyway, whatever. It was there because it was supposed to be there. Anyway, this long process of like, I thought it was fine. It turned out not to be fine, but at least it wasn't Lyme. I got some tinctures and stuff from my acupuncturist and, dealt with that on and off for about 3 months. And thank God for you, helping me with that healing as well. And I finally realized, and then while in the process of dealing with this tick bite, I could feel immediately, even though it was on the right side, which is the masculine side for me, I could feel that it was the mother wound, the feminine energy of being, the feminine wound of being stuck too much in the masculine energy, like that kind of thing, like stuff I'd inherited from my, the women in my family and stuff. And sure enough, I had to rest a lot because I couldn't, I couldn't be anywhere. My spine got all fucked up. Anyway, all these things. So during dealing with this tick bite thing, I had massive activations in both my masculine and feminine energies. And they happened about a couple days apart. And all this stuff was lunation based. It was like almost the day of that new moon in Gemini, I got the tick bite. And then 2 weeks later on the Sagittarius full moon or whatever, it was like, that's when I realized it wasn't fine and I needed to go, and then 2 weeks later something else happened, like all this stuff. So about whatever lunation was where I had the masculine and feminine activations, I was actually helping a friend through some pretty like dark night of the soul stuff, everything. And so it was just wild because one of the nights I felt like this tingling in my hands, and I caught the eye of the guardian, which is my street lamp on my farm. He's an electric angel. I haven't talked about him before. But anyway, I did because I was talking about the Midnight Diner. Anyway, caught his eye and he was like, yeah, that's your masculine. He was like, this massive electric energy had gone through my friend and I was able to ground it because I had done a lot of work on my own masculine healing and all these kinds of things. And I was like, whoa, I just felt so powerful and good. And I was like, dang. And then a few days later, I was helping someone else with some more Dark Night of the Soul, their stuff. And it was like the feminine kind of came online. And I had all these breakthroughs around like my own feminine energy. And like, I've never felt comfortable necessarily being in a feminine body and like owning my own sexuality or sensuality or flirtation has always been hard for me. I don't understand it. I can't do it. It doesn't make sense to me when other people anyway, it's just all these things about feminine, like what I've been taught is acceptable or whatever, or desirable feminine presentation or whatever. I never felt like I embodied that because I fucking didn't. Like I have my own version of that. And it's like these past few years have been a real deep dive into what my own identity is in that way, and it's ever evolving to a certain whatever, but it's like, what even am I? What do I like? Who am I in that way? And I didn't realize how much I loved being in a feminine body and like embodying that feminine energy, that divine feminine. I was like, wow, because I used to hate it. I was like, I wished I was a boy most of my life. I was like, it would be so much easier if I was a dude. Like, just like, why the fuck am I stuck in this fucking body? And now I'm like, I wouldn't want anything else. This shit is amazing. And then it was to like kind of come into being like, okay, well, what is your idea of feminine energy? And it turns out it was kind of similar to like maybe more masculine. And as I'm saying this, I feel like I had this conversation with you already in this podcast. So if I listen to it back and I need to
no.
cut more out, I will. But I had this weird deja vu just now. So I'm like, okay. Anyway, yeah, it was a really incredible experience with this tick bite because I had a lot of fear around it. I kept thinking I was gonna, like when I started feeling it in my body and the blood poisoning and this and that, and I was just like, oh my God. And even, I knew I was gonna be fine, but also I was terrified. It was a weird combination of feelings. And so, yeah, I knew that the tick had activated something in me, and I was making jokes about how I couldn't have been bit by a spider and been cool like Spider-Man. I have to be tick girl. And now I'm just like, I love it. I'm not making fun of ticks at all, but also I'm like, dang. But also, my tick energy is pretty fucking cool. She's now embedded in me energetically. Obviously, the tick is gone, but like energetically, she's in there, and she's just like this powerful presence. And then there's like a masculine version of the tick. It's like more of a golden color. She's kind of a blacker, more dense, like a black hole type energy. And the masculine version of the tick that I get to work with is like this golden color, and he helps me heal other people. So I don't know that he will help me heal every person or whatever, but like, doing energy work on some of my friends and stuff, like he's come through and been like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever energetically in this period. And so it's like really interesting how I've had this fucking tick bite activation. It's been fun though. Like it was not fun to go through, but 60 body stuff.
It was so cool.
Tick girl to the rescue.
Also, it was right at the point in my health thing where I would call on your help as a healer. So it was very interesting because it was a very pivotal point for me where a lot of things started to fall into place with my recovery.
Yeah, you were the first person I used the tick healing on.
Yeah, very powerful. And yeah, it was very cool. I want to briefly one of the things that I think about with healing and healers, and that one of the reasons why I turned to you was, and I told you this, was because I knew that you didn't have to put yourself above me to do work on me, whereas I have, and I'm sure, I know it's like all my own journey around being a healer and my own projected stuff, but it's also a part of our matrix paradigm that doctors and healers, it's an aspect, it's a pretty common aspect of it for the healer to be like, I'm the one with the expertise and you listen to me and I'm going to give you the answers. And even with energy workers and stuff, it's like, it's going to come from me, not you. And that had been really blocking me when I was going to other people for help, because I was really needing to tap back into my own knowing of myself and all these things. And so going to anybody who was going to mirror that back to me and be like, no, you have to listen to me. Yeah. And like, we're going to do things my way, talk about like traditional doctors that I was seeing or energy workers, people who would just spew information at me that was way too much. It was like information overload. I was already bombarded with so many internal messages, and it was like causing me so much overstimulation and anxiety and stress and like chaos, like internal chaos and inability to like, was just paralyzed with like way too much information and competing avenues to choose from, decision fatigue. And so I knew that you don't operate that way, which is such a wonderful thing about you. And so I felt so very safe to like come and just like talk through things. And like, I knew I could tap into your intuition and ask you questions and ask you what you were picking up on things. But like, I could also just tell you things and just converse as like people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just really had me thinking about that as a paradigm, because what we're moving towards is so much more, everything is like, I just think back to like back when I was pre-awakening stuff, but I was like, I would have health issues, and then I would go online and it would be the classic thing of like getting information being like, okay, this is a really good treatment. And then you'd hear all these people be like, no, this is actually terrible for you, blah, blah, blah. And now I realize it was like, it's because we're in the age now where everything is like, what's your system need, which could be completely different from established medical science. Like your system could work completely outside of that, and that's very overwhelming to think about. But like, actually what it involves is getting out of the mental space and like being able to like follow your body and your intuition and do that, which is the challenge in and of itself, but it's much easier and simpler than having to do all the research and all the things. It's like a completely different process when I'm able to tap into it. But that's why there was always so much like, this is good for you, this is bad, this will help, no, actually it'll make it work. Like, that's why we kept encountering that again and again. And also why it doesn't make sense for a physician or a healer to be telling you about yourself. It's going to be
Mhm.
going forward, it's going to be so much more about like getting as much information from the person as possible of like what they feel and what they know, as people get better and better at like tuning into their own knowledge and like more and more comfortable, I should say, and like feel safer and safer doing it. And so it just feels really like I'm in that phase where it starts to feel really repulsive to me, because it's like literally repulsing me from that,
Yeah.
like, pushing me away, where the idea of somebody as a healer having that approach is just like I'm like
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that repulsion phase, or like whenever that hits, it's just so interesting what it's trying to teach you. And I've been having a repulsion phase with like anytime anyone, even people I love, which I really only surround myself with people I love, but like anytime anyone has anything to say about me or what I've done or what I've said, or and this is a big like this was a big thing during the last Mercury retrograde we had, and some of the streams I was doing. I had some people in my chat that were teaching me a lot of cool shit about how to how to be visible or whatever. But now it's like fine tuned to like those were strangers, and now it's like people I know, if they have feedback and stuff or like opinions or any of that stuff about something I've said or what I'm doing or anything, I'm like, fuck you. And I know it's not a fuck you to like the people or whatever. It's trying to show me, it's like, because again, I'm always that person. I have always been the person where I'm like, oh, I don't know anything. Other people know better than me. And I will trust anyone else's word over my own intuition or my own knowing or any of that stuff. And I've just had a crash course in like trusting my own self kind of thing. And so I just am amused more than like, and I don't tell anyone, I don't tell other people this really, but because it's not happened with you or anything like that, but just a couple other examples in my life where I'm like, I'm wondering why I'm having this very strong reaction to things that they are telling me about myself. And I'm like, oh, because it's like, because I want to latch on to what they're saying, because I'm used to that. I'm like, oh, their feedback, they know better. And then I'll be like, wait, I don't know why that thing just pissed me off that they said or whatever. And it's like, because you know more. And these are just more opportunities for you to be like, I know myself better than anyone else, and nobody can tell me who I am. But it's
yeah,
just funny, that energy of repulsion, because like these are people I love. Like it's not.
yeah, no, yeah, it's been, did we talk, I did the 7 to 8 was so psychedelic, and I think I might have said this, but it was like it felt like it was anchoring in permanence, whereas before, in prior years, you'd get to the 8/8, August 8th, and that, what I'm saying is that time period has always felt like incredibly like, it's felt like my new year. It's felt like when leaps make and like huge internal towers happen and things get very fluid and trippy. But this year it really felt like going forward, it was like this, it's just not going to stop. It's continuing on with that energy, and it's been very, very interesting to feel that and to feel so much of reality crumbling down, but being more comfortable and more grounded in it. I think also with the thanks to the help from the medications that I'm on as well.
Yeah.
But it's it's just trippy because it's like those old walls that used to come up are finally gone, where I'm not having to like run and hide in my life in some kind of thing that's like, oh no, but this is fixed and I can't change it and I'm powerless here or whatever, like, and care and get all gnarled up in the same way. It's just all kind of like gradually unraveling, and it really is trippy to have the psychedelic stuff. Like life has already been crazy psychedelic for the past 5-6 years anyway, but to have it just extend out so much further, like I just feel like anything.
I know. It really, like the messages I've been getting, it's like, yes, the current astrology is kind of giving us like expect the unexpected or whatever, but it's kind of like that same thing where that's going to be the norm from now on for a while.
But you also really understand why we go back into those, because it's like it is so different. And at times, like when I had the experience of all those parallel memories coming in after fainting, where it was like,
Yeah.
just having memories come into my brain, but there was like a full extended detailed memory of living it, like minute to minute, like the amount of time it would have taken, but it was just in me without me having gone anywhere in my brain for that amount of time or anything to have happened, but just to have it like be there and like, but also suddenly be much more foggy and like that shit will, like I've had stuff, or especially the stuff I've had waking up in the middle of the night over the past few years where it's like I come back from somewhere else and I don't even remember who I am or what I am for a second, and I'm like, sometimes I come back from a whole other life and it's like, oh god, like that's the wibbly jibblies. And I understand why it can send me scurrying back into a story that will like ground me into something, right? It's like ground me into something that feels fixed and that doesn't feel so completely fluid, but it's just trippy feeling so much more comfortable, like a new level of comfort with the
we keep hearing that it's going to feel like we're on mushrooms, but we're not actually on mushrooms, and it's kind of like, yep, that's
and it's really interesting because I had been writing this story that took place over the course of a summer, and there's a part where the characters in the story do a mushroom trip together, and I had thought, oh, maybe I'm going to do a mushroom trip with two other people, and now I'm like, no, that's just what it's going to feel like. It's just going to feel like you have to do any kind of mushroom trip.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, "Ooh, when is Zadikat going to want to do the mushroom trip?" Never mind.
Well, it doesn't mean we can't still play with mushrooms. Like,
okay, I'll play with mushrooms.
It wasn't. It was like,
I got you.
Don't need it. Like it's just already like, and also just being in a group, physical proximity with people who are on your same frequency is going to be even more like, I think that's why I'm feeling to go back to San Francisco, which KK and I and our friend Pearl and this other friend of ours, Linda, met up in 2021 in November, and it was like just having our four energies combined like made everything, we felt like we were on mushrooms and stuff. But like that, but now is going to be so amplified for where we are anyway. Like when I had the experience with my faint, I was like, oh, this is things were happening in my faint that were similar to what I was conceiving of for that scene of like how they were feeling when they were on mushrooms. I'm like, okay, so I'm just experiencing this through fainting this time, or maybe another time it'll be in just hanging out with somebody, or in a dream, or a lucid dream, or a breath work, or the meditation, or something, you know, or just existing.
Just existing, you know. Hilarious.
Yeah, so we're revisiting, according to my oracles, the collective, there's a revisiting of the underworld, but from a very party fun place where we're all like playing with our inner monsters. Like we're like having fun in the character of like our inner underworld monster.
Okay.
It's like a really chill. And then there was the rest and the collective rest and the chilling and the mini getaways as well came up.
Ooh, mini getaways.
And
well, that's cool.
New hobbies.
I can't wait to see how this manifests, because I'm sure, like, just from the energy I'm in right now, I'm like, nope. And I know stuff can switch on a dime, but it's so funny.
Well, I also don't know if I'm talking, like I felt recently, like I don't know if I'm always talking to your frequency recently. So I might be talking to a different part of the collective.
Yeah.
Because I've just had that thought recently a few times, like where I don't know if my messages are for you these days.
It would make sense that we would have different like different frequency, and like that we would be coming together and doing this podcast, because it's like we have overlapping stuff, but then we also have our separate things, and it's nice to hear both. We draw in a lot of cool.
That's very much what I've been feeling, is that's like a big purpose of the podcast, is have two very, not very different, but two different frequencies coexisting peacefully and amicably, and sharing sometimes perspectives that will seem completely at odds or paradoxical or whatever to each other, but that's the whole point, is that they can both coexist and both can be true, and some will speak to some people and some will speak to others, or maybe sometimes like a little bit of both, or a little
bit of both. Yeah.
But like I think that's the purpose of us coming together, is we do have like, because I've definitely been feeling that lately, like when I'm saying things, it's like, I don't know if this applies to you.
It's fascinating, because like I've always, again, with the trusting of myself and my own messages, it's like, as soon as you said that, a part of the old part of me was like, nuh-uh, I don't know anything. Why would I be separate? Like Zadikat speaks for all of us. I was like, no, you have your own messages coming through.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't know, like I don't feel like it falls into any particular category of person that like
Yeah.
my frequency is it's very
Yeah.
me.
It's kind of like whoever's going through something at a certain point, that's when they need to hear it. It can change. It's like that same person could need my stuff, for example, and then it'd be back to you, and then the other person. And so it makes sense that it's just we have the frequency, and then people can tune in like radio stations and hear what they need to hear.
Yeah, no, just because at one point I remember having a conversation with somebody about like human design and if you should speak to like specific, say like, oh, this will resonate more with like, manifest energy, and I just didn't feel
I
like
don't know about that. Yeah.
that for me,
Yeah.
but
Doesn't feel like that's for me either. But I'm open to changes. Yeah.
actually with this oracle, I don't even know if like a lot of times mostly historically my oracle readings have been like what I'm also going to experience, like I'm speaking from my frequency, but for me I felt like a lot of my summer was what I was saying for fall, so I was having a hard time seeing if I'm now like, because now I also feel like I'm getting into what's coming for winter, so I don't know if like I test drive the thing and then it's coming like
That makes
that I'm supposed to put it out there for
yeah.
in the future, although the mini getaways definitely speaks to me for the fall.
Yeah, do your mini getaways.
Yeah,
Is there anything else coming through you want to talk about, or?
I think there could be a million things, but
I know that's what I'm like. I'm ready to stop, but also there's like so many things. But at the same time, I know we're combining this with another
yeah,
episode, so I'm like, well, maybe it is a good time to stop. I don't know, but I'm happy to keep talking
no,
if you
I
got stuff.
time to stop for sure, and I'm just excited. It makes me excited because I've got like so many things to share for future episodes.
Yeah, it feels good to have stuff to talk about again, because for a while I was like, there is nothing I want to say.
And so, if you've been experiencing any 6D body stuff, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, tell us your stories. Ask us your questions.
Tell us your stories, ask us any questions, and looking forward to continuing future conversations with the space kittens.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, check out my crazy face. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.